Hey, everybody, and welcome to County Talk, boring but important. This, again, is where we talk about the nitty-gritty issues that affect you as a taxpayer in Montrose County. We want you to know the inner workings of how the county works. Sometimes it can get kind of complicated. And so we have a series. You've probably seen some of these podcasts, but today we're going to be talking about WIC, the WIC program. And I'm Sue Hansen. I'm one of your 3 elected officials, county commissioners. And we're here with Laura Lenihan, who's the WIC program manager. And we're going to talk about WIC. I think it's a really common program. A lot of people already know about WIC. It's been around for a long time. But tell me a little bit about you and how you got into WIC?
Well, Sue, I've been a nurse for over 30 years. I'm a registered nurse, and I have been working for Montrose County Public Health for 7 years. And back in 2021, our director, Barb, decided to retire after 20 years of highly dedicated service. And so the job became available, and she encouraged me to apply. Mm-hmm. And so I interviewed for it, and here I am.
So what do you like about, what's rewarding about the WIC program?
I am very passionate about nutrition, and I feel that nutrition plays a very important role in, as we all know, about prevention of, diseases, and it also gives a great healthy start to infants and pregnant women, and something I care very deeply about.
Yeah, well, we know you do, and it's one of those programs that it would be hard not to support and get behind. So tell us a little bit about what the program is and what the scope of what you do in your department.
So as far as what we do is that we provide supplemental nutrition for women, infants, and children, pregnant, breastfeeding moms, and it serves children up to the age of 5. Not only do we provide the nutrition, the food for them that they can get at the grocery stores, we also provide nutrition education for them and breastfeeding support and education.
Good, that's great. So you have a beginning mom that maybe wasn't raised in a household that really understood or learned about nutrition, because we tend to like junk food. So WIC differs in that way, because the WIC vouchers, which people get a voucher and they can go to the grocery store and purchase food, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then there's also a farmer's market component to that. And how does that work?
So that's called the Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And once the family is enrolled, they can sign up online on the WIC website to get vouchers, and it's around $30, and they can take it over to the farmer's market here in Montrose and purchase fruits and veggies that they would like to have.
So do all the vendors at the farmer's market participate in that?
Most of them do, yeah. There's some that don't, but
so is there a double? Is it just $30, or at some point I thought there was a double?
That's what SNAP. Okay. SNAP is double up bucks. And we encourage them, if they are enrolled in the SNAP program, to use that as well, because they can use both.
So what is you're a nurse, so when you're dealing with moms in the WIC program, or even dads, how are you selling them on good nutrition and that they really should use the WIC vouchers for these purchases? What do you talk about?
Well, we discuss the many things that, a lot of the medical diseases that are occurring today, such as diabetes, obesity, and also mental health. If you eat well, you're going to feel well. Mm-hmm. And so we also encourage them. We have cookbooks that we have handed out to them that doesn't have a lot of ingredients in them. So they may be feeling tired, after work, or taking care of the kids all day, and these are some easy recipes to help them to encourage some healthy eating habits.
Yeah, that's great. I always think about, my dad was in the air service, and so my mom was always economizing food and stuff like that. It just seems like we've gotten away from cooking meals for, your family, and I don't know if that's just because we're all working so hard or working a couple jobs, so it's more difficult. But it is fairly easy to sort of put together a pretty healthy meal for not that much money. What would that be an example? Give me an example of a healthy meal that you would recommend.
They can take, for example, people get tired of the regular meals, and they can get something like beets. A lot of people don't like beets. Well, there's a fabulous recipe in a cookbook that we hand out, and it's actually beets mashed potatoes, and it has butter in it, and it actually tastes very similar to mashed potatoes. You wouldn't think that.
Well, I'm gonna double dog challenge on that
yeah.
one. I'm gonna go get some beets and see if I can make it taste like a mashed
And you
potato.
can put some pepper on it. It's simple spices, not expensive spices, easy to find.
Yeah.
And that's some healthy meal planning. Also, WIC provides dried beans. There's lots of recipes with beans.
Yeah. So do you help them understand how they can cook those, or do you go that in depth with some of your clients?
We do. Yeah. We definitely, some people do not know how to cook or was never taught. So these recipes are very easy to follow.
So is there anything that, so I love the idea of the correlation, it's no surprise that we have a population nationwide that is heavier than we used to be, right?
Right.
And a lot of that is we have access to great nutrition. But what are some of the disease or the medical issues that are connected to either being overweight or even, I guess, leading to diabetes? That would be one of them, right?
Diabetes is one of them. As you get older, joint problems, thyroid issues. Cardiovascular disease, hypertension, to name a few, and then later in life, risk for stroke.
So when we go to the grocery store and I'm in a hurry, they talk about shopping the middle aisle, not shopping the middle aisle. If you shop the outside aisles, can you talk a little bit about that philosophy and why that is? Do you know that?
I am familiar with that. So the middle of the aisle is a lot of the ultra-processed foods. So where you'll see the crackers, the cookies, usually is in the middle. And then as you go further out, you'll see more of like the breads, the cereals. And then when you go to the outer edges, that's where you'll have the fruits and vegetables on one end, and on the other end of the grocery store is usually your meats and fish and dairy products like that. Not to say that if they decide to buy, breads, which is definitely a WIC item, that's okay. But to eat strictly middle of the aisle ultra-processed foods is definitely not a healthy food practice.
Right. And, so I'm always cognizant of that when I find myself in the middle of the aisle, I'm like, oh, I'm in the middle aisles. I should be on the outside. But, occasionally, those processed food, macaroni and cheese and things that come in a box, I mean, you can think about that. Anytime they have this many ingredients, probably processed, right? But I try to be aware of the outside aisle. So it must be really rewarding to be able to help people learn about nutrition and help them eat better. Is that sort of a win for you?
It is. Yeah, for myself and my team.
So tell me about your team. You can't do this all by yourself. We have a lot of people on WIC.
That's right.
Talk about your team a little bit.
So I have an absolutely fabulous, awesome team of 3. There's Cecilia, and Roberta's on the West End, who serves our clients out there. And then our newest educator is Juanita. And this program couldn't be done without them. They're very caring and make sure that everyone has their needs met. And we also make referrals if there's other things in life that they're needing.
So, like, for instance, what if I was a WIC client and I came in and I had my vouchers and I was able to go to the grocery store, but other issues, what might you encounter?
There's some moms that have not yet received prenatal care, and they're out beyond the first trimester, so we encourage them to seek a medical provider to deliver a healthy baby. Also, some of them have mental health issues, and we make referrals out for that as well. Some children may have a special need, something that we have seen if they're not wanting to eat only like one texture, that's a red flag. So there's referrals. Yes, there's referrals for that. So that's to name a few that we do for them.
Interesting. So that might signify something else going on with that kid or something. Good.
Right.
So what has surprised you about being involved with the WIC program?
What surprised me was the amount of federal regulation.
Yeah.
I knew there was some, but there is quite a bit to follow that you have to make sure you're on top of in order to keep the program going, and it's regulated by the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture.
So does that take up a lot of your time, the paperwork and the regulatory requirements?
Sometimes, yes,
Yeah.
and it changes.
Yeah. So it's not as simple as just, hey, here's a voucher, You know, there's always things in the background that people maybe don't really understand. So, are all your team that work with the WIC clients, are they up to speed? I mean, you have to take time to train them when they're brand new and things like that. So, how do you transfer your level of passion to those your team members?
Well, there is a significant amount of training that is required. When someone's hired on, they have to go through all of the training videos and modules to be done. And then there's things that the state looks out for that pop up that they disseminate throughout all the WIC agencies throughout the state, such as breastfeeding, nutrition education classes for us to, because the nutrition guidelines change as well.
Right.
So I make sure that I'm on top of following that and giving that to my crew so that they know, how to best serve
what's
our
going
clients.
on. Yeah, I remember in elementary school, which is, a ways back, they had the pyramid, and we've kind of changed a lot of those, what's good for you and what's not good for you. So
Right.
as we learn more about nutrition and science, we have to make those adjustments. So so that was your surprise, the federal regulations. Every federal program has a lot of regulations.
Yeah,
They don't want to let us
That's right.
let us not experience that. Are there any? So you mentioned breastfeeding, and I think that's interesting and good for people to know because breastfeeding is free, essentially. Talk about how you support a breastfeeding mom and what you might help them with.
So I took a lactation education course, so I'm a lactation counselor. And then my staff has also taken education in how to support these moms in breastfeeding. If there's any issues, they usually come to me. We make separate appointments for them so that they can be seen, and that's the only thing that we can focus on and not worry about their benefits and whatnot. We also supply breast pumps and breastfeeding supplies for them as well. And we try and educate everyone that's in their support group so that they can have support at home.
Yeah, because sometimes it's easy and sometimes it doesn't go as easy as you might think, right?
That's correct.
So it seemed to me like over the years there's been trends in breastfeeding and formula. There's always been a kind of a discussion, and formula's there for if breastfeeding becomes a challenge or for some reason, right? So how do you what are the numbers in terms of breastfeeding moms? Or do you have do most of the moms breastfeed when they come through the WIC program? How does that?
No, not all of them do, and we're trying to, of course, promote that. But it's solely, the mom's decision. A lot of them like to try. Some cannot, or just decide prenatally they do not want to, or they change their mind once they deliver. One of the main reasons why I see, moms will try, they start breastfeeding and then they quit within 6 months. And the number one reason is that it's perceived that they don't produce enough milk. So we have to change that trend and, encourage them to bring the baby in to be weighed so that we can look at the baby, work with their medical provider. Another thing we also tell them prenatally is that it takes quite a bit of work. It's 10 to 12 times a day that a baby breastfeeds.
Oh my gosh.
In a 24-hour period. So I think societal norms do not always encourage breastfeeding.
Right.
So the mom's up against that as well.
Ducking in bathrooms and trying to breastfeed. But there are some specific benefits to breastfeeding. Can you talk a little bit about what those benefits are?
Absolutely. So for the baby, they've done several studies in breastfeeding, and one of them is that they have had studies have shown that they've had less incidences of asthma in life, diabetes. They're healthier. They have less allergies to food. And it's also encouraged because they have less immunocompromised medical issues as they're older. The baby gets the antibodies, especially within the first few days with the colostrum. And it's good for mom in the diet, the mom and baby diet. It increases bonding.
Isn't there also, this could be a myth, and we're going to move into the myths. I might be sharing a myth with you. I always thought that if you breastfed, you would go back to your normal pre-birth weight. Is that
That's a myth?
Okay,
Yes,
there's a myth.
for sure.
Myth number one. So that's not necessarily the case.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other myths do we know about WIC or just about nutrition and breastfeeding? What other myths do we?
One of the big myths I think we see in our office specifically is that it's thought that they have to be on SNAP or Medicaid to automatically qualify, which is not true.
Okay.
There are some that are unemployed, underemployed. They don't quite make enough, and we do have guidelines, income guidelines that we share with them. It's also on the WIC website, coloradowic.com, and the guidelines are on there. It changes every July. Another myth is that it's not just for the moms. It could be for a dad if the dad has custody. If they're a foster child, they are automatically qualify for WIC. Or it could be the legal guardian, the caregiver that's taking care of the child can also bring them in to qualify for WIC as well.
Right. So I didn't mean to diss the dads and the grandparents and everybody else that's
Right.
involved in the care of these children. So what other misconceptions do we have? Because it'd be really nice for people that watch this, if they know somebody or if they themselves have some misconceptions about WIC, that we get more people involved, because you have access to fresh produce. I'm assuming meat is included in that as well. Is that correct or not?
Not it, canned meat is the chicken and tuna, but not in the actual meat is not
Not part of the
not
voucher?
part of the voucher.
Okay, so really we're just focusing on veggies and fruits and that sort of thing. Okay, good.
And some of the dried goods like the bread and the beans, milk, baby food, formula.
So if I was on WIC, and how often can I get a voucher?
Well, you get certified for 1 year, and then every 3 months they come in, or we also have remote appointments as well, and we get the child or infant's length and weight, and make sure the baby's growing like they should be, and we provide education at that time. So it's about every 3 months.
So then I could call. We could set up a Zoom meeting, and you could help me if I was
That's
of
correct.
childbearing age. A
That's
little
right.
past that, but so it is really it really is a cool program, and they can find the guidelines on our website, or do they have to go to the state website? Would you say the website again where they can find the WIC guidelines?
It's coloradowic.com, and then, or you can just Google Colorado WIC, and it'll pull up the website.
Okay.
And then, or they can just look on the Montrose County website as well. There's the WIC webpage on there.
Do you think that we are that there are many more families who could be taking advantage of WIC that are not in Montrose County?
I think so.
Do you have
Yeah.
any ways or ideas on how we could reach out to those families so that we make sure that they all have opportunity if they qualify and meet the guidelines?
Well, we do have a lot. We receive a lot of referrals from the different medical providers as well. Child Protection Services, Hilltop, and we every now and then try to do an outreach, when we can. That's pretty much, we get most of our referrals from friends
the
and
providers.
family.
They already-
Providers and friends and family.
Right, and they
Yeah.
already know about the program. Maybe they were on the program when they had their baby or something like
That's
that.
right,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. It's really interesting. I hope that we can encourage people to get more involved in WIC. What else would you want us to know about WIC? And so, as people are watching this podcast, what else do you think we need to know?
Well, it's a great program because I think that it provides education and assistance in developing healthy eating habits, because it's a challenge for all of us.
Right.
And also just to encourage the mom that she's doing okay, because I think sometimes they may not have that support at home if they're a young mother. So
Yeah, like you said, sometimes they don't know if they're breastfeeding. They don't know if the baby's getting enough. Is that sufficient? What do I need to do? And then you don't want a mother that's worried, right? We want to
Right.
make sure that they have all the education that they need, and it's not that intuitive, right? If you didn't grow up learning about it,
it's not.
How do you know it?
Knowing nutrition or breastfeeding is not it's natural, but it's not instinctive with humans.
Right.
So,
And I think if we could share, I love that you had that nutrition focus, because I think that makes, when you look at what people have and suffer from in terms of their later in life, I don't know how much of that could be drawn back down to their nutritional habits when they were growing up. But, an occasional candy bar, but not soda,
Right.
not candy all the time. I mean, any diet of all of that would not be healthy. So if we can just reach a family to change their eating habits, I think that would be really rewarding for you.
It is.
Yeah.
And that we provide a safe space for them so that we can have these discussions openly and they can say, I really don't know what's healthy.
Right.
For me or my baby or my family.
Well, there's lots of us that don't really know that, right? Like I never knew that beets could be mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
every time I do a podcast, I learn something. Now I'm going to go try that. I'm going to double dog dare you to see if you put enough butter in anything, it tastes good. Is that kind of what the thought is?
Well, not necessarily,
no. Okay, we got to be healthy.
Yeah, but we have a lot of fruit and veggie stands here and the farmers markets that people can take advantage of with those vouchers.
Yeah, and there's a couple of there's DeVries, there's Macario's, there's the farmers market. I mean, we're trying to bring that level of nutrition, and I know the Valley Food Partnership supports that kind of thing too. So
Yes.
So between SNAP and WIC, we should be able to get people at least a healthy start and understanding a little bit about how their nutrition is connected to their overall health and the health of their kids too.
Yes.
Well, thanks for joining me today and
Sure,
talk a
thank
little
you for
bit about
having
WIC.
me.
Tell us how people could get in touch with you, and if they were now curious about WIC and wanted to know more.
Sure. Well, they can call our office. We are in our office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and our number is 970-252-5088.
Great. Well, call Laura now and learn more about WIC. And every time we do a podcast, no matter what the topic is, I always learn something I didn't know. So I hope you learned something too. And if you want to learn more, you can, as Laura said, you can reach out to Laura, or you can go to countytalk@montrose.net. And we'd love to see you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.